Hi, I'm Marissa White, and I am a fine art photographer. The work that I do is really I take multiple images and I seamlessly stitch them together in Photoshop to create kind of fantastical and very surrealistic looking scenes. Some are a little bit more Photoshopped than others, but ultimately what I like to say that I do is I kind of hyperbolize emotions that are not so easily expressed with words. So this is my studio space. There's several parts to the way that I kind of create images. Of course, obviously the first part is basically taking the camera, and I come up with a bunch of different ideas. Sometimes they're well premeditated in advance, and then other times I'm kind of inspired by the nature and the surroundings of the scenes that I'm in. And depending on how concrete that idea is in my head, the camera part probably will only take anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. Sometimes I take a lot of props into the space and I'll bring models. If I don't have a model, sometimes I will use myself too. And then once I'm done with that, then I take them into Photoshop. I'll kind of sort through, figure out which are the best images to choose from, and then I will go to town, basically kind of, again, creating very surrealistic scenes. This was one that I'm working on actually right now. I'm working on a series with a lot of clouds, and so that's been my latest fascination, and I actually have a whole thing of polyfill, which you know is the batting that you use in either pillows or teddy bears and whatnot, and I've actually been throwing them up in the air trying to catch it perfectly with the camera. And so this is one of those scenes that I've been working on, and that was actually a very perfectly posed cloud, if you will. The camera caught it at the right scene. So I do love kind of playing with that too, and kind of confusing, or making it not so much confusing, but making the viewer question whether or not this actually happened in camera or if it was actually photoshopped. Okay, so this image right here is called Trust Fall. It does look like it is photoshopped, but truth be told is that this is about 3 feet of water over in the bay in Florida. And I had a camera that was right off frame essentially. I did have to have a friend. I called in a friend to help get this shot just right, because this is actually me. And at first I brought my husband in, but of course he manhandled the entire camera, and the whole thing ended up blurry. So luckily I had a friend visiting not too long after that, and she was also a photographer, so she was able to kind of hit the quick shutter on it. But the fun part is actually poised up at the top of the ladder, and then counting to, I don't know, 3, taking a deep breath and, mustering up some courage to then fall backwards off of the ladder. This piece probably was about the 4th attempt, I want to say, on this second day. So possibly like the 7th or 8th attempt. And it took the perfect timing, right? Just trying to get the shutter started at the top of the ladder to get the, whatever, 125,000th of a second or something to catch the scene. But people often question, it's just like, well, how do you look completely dry? It's like, well, apparently when you are completely wet, you also look completely dry. So anyway, this is one of those fun images where it kind of, makes the viewer question what was real and what wasn't. But again, this is one of my favorite pieces that I created, kind of very conceptually, just kind of, again, called Trust Fall. It reminds people that everything happens for a reason, and I'm definitely a big believer in that. And so, again, a lot of the work that I do create is a bit of a visual diary. Sometimes it's, either work about myself or people that I know and care about in my life. And it always kind of means something at the underlying level. But what I love about it too, it's kind of like listening to a favorite song and then learning from the musician later that the song meant nothing what you imagined it was. But that's okay, because you've taken your own identity and your own experiences and kind of latched it onto that song. And so that's kind of what I hope to do with my work too. I hope to kind of find resonance with everybody, and for people to recognize that what they're seeing in here is something that we all experience, and it kind of mimics, I guess, to some degree, the human condition. So thank you for taking the time to come to our virtual online studios. I hope you find something that you like for either yourself or for somebody else during these holidays, and thank you for supporting local artists.